I live in a small city in Pennsylvania. In a brick apartment building that's been standing since the 1950s. It's not fancy. The walls are thin, the pipes groan in the winter, and the elevator sounds like it's on its last legs. But it's cheap, and for the past 4 years, it's been my little corner of the world. My name is Claire. I'm 29, and I live alone on the top floor, apartment 7B. I've always been the type to keep to myself. I don't throw parties, I don't have people over often, and my neighbors are just background characters in my life. That changed about 6 weeks ago. It started small. One night, after work, I walked into my kitchen and noticed the chair by the small table was pulled out slightly. I didn't think much of it. Maybe I bumped it that morning and didn't realize. But then it happened again the next day. And then I noticed my bedroom window was open a crack. I almost never open it in October. The air gets damp and cold here. I shut it, locked it, and told myself it was probably me forgetting. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. 3 nights later, I woke up at around 3:40 a.m. I'm not a light sleeper, but something stirred me. A creak. The kind of sound wood makes when someone steps on it. I lay there, my heart starting to pound, and strained to hear. Nothing. Just the hum of the fridge in the kitchen and the faint ticking of my wall clock. The next morning, I saw something that made my stomach turn. On my kitchen counter, next to the fruit bowl, there was an apple with a single bite taken out of it. I threw it away, locked my door behind me as I left for work, and tried to convince myself that maybe I forgot. Maybe I did buy apples. But that night, something new happened. As I parked my car, a silver 2014 Chevrolet Impala, I noticed a black sedan parked across the street. I'd seen it a couple of times in the past week, but never thought much of it. This time, though, I realized something. The driver's seat was occupied. Someone was sitting there, engine off, no lights. When I looked directly at them, they turned their head away. For the next few days, the black sedan appeared in different spots near my building. Sometimes across the street, sometimes 2 blocks down. But always where they could see my building's entrance. I didn't know if I was being paranoid or if something was seriously wrong. Then, last Friday night, it all came to a head. I got home late, after having a drink with a coworker. As I stepped into my apartment, I noticed the faint smell of cigarette smoke. I don't smoke, and neither do my neighbors. I locked the door, walked through the living room, and checked the kitchen. That's when I saw it. My bedroom door was almost shut. I never, ever close that door. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't in my bag. Panic surged through me. I slowly pushed the door open. And in the dim light from the street outside, I saw a man. He was standing in the far corner of my bedroom, half in shadow. Tall, wearing a dark hoodie, hands at his sides, his head tilted just slightly, like he was studying me. I froze. My voice wouldn't work. He didn't move. Didn't speak. I took one step back, then another, never breaking eye contact. And then I ran. I bolted out my front door, down the hall, slammed my fist on my neighbor's door until they opened it. By the time the police arrived, my apartment was empty. No signs of forced entry. The only thing they found was my phone, placed neatly on my kitchen counter, and a half-smoked cigarette in the sink. That was 3 nights ago. Last night, as I parked my Impala, I saw the black sedan again. This time, the man inside was smiling. I was driving home from a weekend trip in upstate New York, heading south along Route 220 through the mountains. It was close to midnight, and the 2-lane road was almost completely empty. I've always liked night drives. The way your headlights carve a path through the darkness, the steady hum of the tires on asphalt. But that night, the air felt different. It was late October. The wind was picking up, and the temperature had dropped into the 30s. My Chevy Silverado's heater was on, the radio low, and I was just counting down the miles until home. About 20 minutes outside of Lock Haven, my high beams caught something up ahead. A car. It was pulled halfway onto the shoulder, the driver's side facing the road. No hazard lights, no headlights. Just sitting there in the dark. As I got closer, I could make out the make and model. A white 2010 Ford Taurus. The front bumper was dented, and the left front tire looked flat. I slowed down, debating whether to stop. Normally, I wouldn't. You hear too many stories. But as I passed, I saw the driver's door hanging open just a few inches. I kept going for another 30 seconds, then pulled over. My gut told me something was wrong. I grabbed my phone, left the engine running, and walked back toward the Taurus. Hello? My voice sounded too loud in the cold air. No answer. I got close enough to see inside. The cabin light was on, and the driver's seat was empty. On the floor, just under the pedals, was a single brown work boot. That's when I noticed the smell. Cigarette smoke, faint but fresh. I took a step back, shining my phone's flashlight toward the woods just beyond the guardrail. The beam caught on something pale, a hand. It was gripping the metal of the guardrail from the other side. Fingers curled tight. My stomach dropped. Before I could say anything, the hand slid out of sight. I backed toward my truck, still scanning the tree line. That's when I heard it, the sound of someone moving fast through dry leaves. Coming toward me. I turned and sprinted for the driver's seat. Slammed the door, and threw the truck into drive. In my mirror, just before I pulled away, I saw him. A tall man, wearing a filthy hoodie, running out of the trees toward the Taurus. He had something long and dark in his hand. Maybe a crowbar. I floored it. my hands shaking on the wheel. 2 miles down the road, headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. They were far at first, then closing the distance fast. I recognized the shape instantly. The white Ford Taurus. The flat tire was gone. I pushed the Silverado to 80, my heart hammering. The Taurus stayed with me for another 5 miles, sometimes swerving toward my lane. Finally, the lights disappeared. I don't know if he turned off, or if I just lost him in the curves. I didn't stop again until I was in my driveway, door locked, engine off, and the truck still ticking from the heat. The police came the next morning, but there was no Taurus on Route 220. No boot, no open door, nothing. That was 2 weeks ago. Last night, as I left the grocery store, a white Ford Taurus pulled out of the parking lot behind me. It was a cold Tuesday night in early November, and I was in my small one-story house just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I'd moved in 6 months earlier after a messy breakup, thinking the quiet suburban street would give me some peace. By midnight, I was still awake, scrolling through my phone in bed. The wind outside rattled the thin aluminum siding, and every now and then a car would pass on the main road 2 blocks away. I was half asleep when I heard the first sound. A faint knock. 3 quick taps. Then silence. I sat up, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe the wind had blown something against the front door. But then, 30 seconds later, it came again. 3 knocks. I glanced at my phone. 3:17 a.m. My stomach tightened. No one visits at that hour. I slipped out of bed, barefoot, and crept toward the living room. The front door has a small frosted glass window near the top, enough to let light in during the day, but impossible to see clearly through from inside. The porch light was on. As I approached, I could make out a shadow beyond the glass. Whoever it was, they were standing perfectly still. "Who's there?" My voice shook. No answer. The shadow didn't move. I backed away from the door, went to the kitchen, and grabbed the small flashlight I keep in a drawer. When I came back, the shadow was gone. I opened the blinds on the side window and shone the flashlight out toward the yard. Nothing. I tried to laugh it off, telling myself it was probably some drunk who had the wrong house. But as I turned to head back to bed, I froze. There were wet footprints on my porch. Bare feet. I locked the deadbolt, double-checked the windows, and climbed back into bed. My heart was still racing, but eventually, exhaustion won. I woke again to another sound, this time from the back of the house. A slow, deliberate scraping, like metal dragging against the siding. I grabbed my phone, dialed 911, and whispered to the dispatcher what was happening. She told me to stay on the line until officers arrived. While I was talking, I peeked out the bedroom window toward the backyard. That's when I saw him. A man, shirtless despite the cold, pale skin glistening in the porch light, was standing at the back door, holding a long piece of rebar. He was staring directly at the glass, not moving. I told the dispatcher he was there, but before I could say more, his head snapped toward my bedroom window. I dropped to the floor. The next sound was the worst. The slow creak of the back door handle turning. The dispatcher kept talking to me, telling me officers were 2 minutes away. I heard footsteps on the wooden porch outside, then silence. The quiet was almost worse. A minute later, I heard a faint knock at the front door. 3 taps. I stayed crouched behind the bed, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles hurt. Red and blue lights suddenly flashed through the curtains. The knocking stopped. 2 officers entered and swept the house. He was gone. The only sign he'd been there was the muddy rebar lying in my backyard, and a set of bare footprints in the frost leading back toward the woods. That was 3 nights ago. Last night, I woke at exactly 3:17 a.m. From somewhere out in the dark, I heard 3 slow knocks.